what can we do in the future? Because ultimately what happens is either Jim or I decide we're gonna shut down the highway. And then in this case, we paged out every fire department on Highway 20 and asked them to set up at their city limits to prevent people from moving on.
Okay. I didn't know we were shutting 20 down out here until I heard radio traffic.
Well, of course you would until you heard radio traffic.
Yeah.
But
You know, the procedure is, the first thing is shut it down so we don't get any more
Right.
accidents or anything like that. I in turn contacted the radio stations, I in turn contacted the television stations that would broadcast in this whole area. But again, if the radio, if you're not listening to it at that moment, how would you know?
Right.
But most of us who can't see, you know, the end of our car is deciding, I don't think it's a good time to go shopping. So the problem that we have is that we need, you know, if not knowing on last January 21st incident how many days this was going to be out, the school is the logical choice because after 2 days, you know, you're going to start getting the rural people coming in, and obviously it'd be great if you had showers or something like that. Again, we could have gone a week, we could have gone 4 days. No one knows at that point, and we way overwhelmed this facility. But when that happened last January 21st, we knew that you guys had a generator, and we considered opening this up. Then, after talking to Mid-America over in Davenport, they're saying it doesn't look good for any time in the near future. That's when we opted to say, okay, we'll go to the school, and we completely bypassed. But for the blizzard situation,
I think it just comes down to people knowing who to contact. And where, you know, who to contact and where they're going to go initially. And, you know, the decision can be made later down the road to move them up to the school, whatever. You know, whether it's Casey's or the principal or whoever needs to know who to contact.
Well, that's kind of where I was going. You have 3 of you sitting here on the fire department. Once Highway 20 is shut down or we're shutting it down, is that something you guys can just, I mean, you got keys to the building, you're on the fire department, you know what's happening, you're council members. Is that something you guys can take the lead on and say, you know?
I guess I thought about it, but I didn't want to cross any boundaries as far as, how do I put this? I didn't want to be
obviously we can't get over here and tell everybody, go to earlier, we wouldn't be shutting stuff down. But I mean, I think that's what we need to focus on is, when this happens again, what actions are we going to take? I mean, is that something that the city wants to put out, like to Casey's or to Crossroads? You know, look, when they shut the highway down, we're going to automatically open up the city building. The kind of advantage we have now, and honest to God, what scares me is you get 30 or 40 people over here who don't know each other, and you have nobody. Well, now we have Kristen and Tori who live here, so at least we can call somebody and say, you're going to go do a walk through the school or walk through City Hall or, you know, be visible. Because my policy is, and has been, once they pull the state plows off, we're done. I'm pulling my people off too. If the state plows can't see and move, I damn sure can't do it.
It's an internal marketing problem. We talked about that before, and some of the things we could have done. But if you could let your front-end people, like at your convenience stores or restaurants and places where people are going to stop, know what the procedure is. And then we even talked about, we were fools, we should have put on our church signs that the shelter was at the rec center or something, because as people drove down Main Street, they could actually have seen the signs then that here's the shelter. Because nobody really does know. And it's usually your front-end people, your convenience stores and stuff like this, they're much more knowledgeable than they are in the rural area than they are in the urban area, but they still aren't sure where to send people. So.
Well, the big contact would be the fire department, because the fire department's going to get notified almost immediately, we're shutting down the road. If the fire department then can take the initiative to say, okay, look, we're shutting down 20, notify the mayor, notify council, somebody needs to open up City Hall here, and we'll start with that.
And tell the people at Casey's and tell the rest of it.
You know.
Right. I think that's where
Sending the information don't know.
Yeah.
You know, the lady at Casey's and
She's just trying to help out, you know.
Yeah, they're trying to be nice.
They did their part to serve the community, you know. They just didn't know who to get a hold of.
But the other person that needs to understand this is the people at the school. It's not that we don't want them to open up, but just tell them if she gets contacted, she should be saying, well, have they not opened up City Hall? Because it should be here first, but if it becomes overwhelming, then we all move to the school.
You know, is that something, is the assistant fire chief, do you think the fire department can take a lead on?
Well, yeah, and I think it's something as we're sitting here and everybody's talking at once, just trying to, we need some sort of plan.
We do.
And which, as far as I know, what we have is pretty antiquated. There's lots of different ways to get information out there nowadays that we can certainly use. One, we have 2 keys to this building, correct?
I ordered more for you guys.
For us?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
For our defined council.
Okay. Yeah, so that takes care of most of that. Yeah, I know the last time around, Ray, talked to Ray about going out, he very wisely opted to stay in town, which in that situation is probably the best place. We need you there. So we can start looking at, just getting a little more concrete plan in place as far as what we actually do, and who we get information to, and who the people to actually talk to are.
Unfortunately, it gets dumped on the cities. When we shut these highways down, it gets dumped on Lytton, it gets dumped on Early, it gets dumped in Sac City, you're stuck with it. And, everybody wants to get to the closest town and they're done, but.
They're the first responders, aren't they?
That's part of our role in public safety as well. I don't think it's anything insurmountable by any means. One thing that the insurance, I know Doug and I assume you talked to Doug about it through the insurance people about apparently they balked a little bit about having the fire department out at all. Correct? Which, so then basically, debriefed the chief a little bit as far as where our truck was located and everything. And basically we were as safe as absolutely possible, in that situation, which I assume they were just barking a little bit.
That's what I understand.
Yeah,
They were just,
Yeah, which, something that, we gotta get out there.
Well,
and
emergency situations where sheriff has only so many staff, and not all of them are staffed at the same time, we don't have the luxury of having those people out on the road.
We'll go out there and do it again.
Just for those, and you guys are to be commended, because I know last year, January 21st was not a fun day for Nick Schumacher.
Oh, not a good day. I think I had more fun than you.
You were out there too? Yes. Oh my gosh. You guys, I don't know how you kept from freezing to death out there. Because I went down to Rice's Station about the time you were coming in, and you'd been out on the road since about 8:30 in the morning.
One day.
And you probably had too, so.
What we need, and I don't know, we've talked to some other sheriffs, really what we need is some legislation enacted that, and I'm just throwing this out, if you're traveling when travel's not recommended, or you're in a blizzard warning, if you get stranded, there ought to be a $500 civil penalty, and if we gotta come and get you, it's gonna cost you $500, and if you don't pay it, you're not gonna get to register your car next round. How else do you keep these people at home?
There's no more compensation.
We had the 1050, which was, like the second or third vehicle that we turned around.
Yeah.
They opted, they came back to Early, came around,
Yeah.
and got back on 20, and then they run into somebody, so that's.
Well, we had 3 of them up here on 20 this last one, and 20 was shut down.
Yeah.
They weren't going anywhere. and we weren't getting to them, so.
Well, you have a perfect opportunity now because Senator Larry Noble, who's a retired highway patrolman, is now the director of the Iowa Public Safety. So he would be the one to get to. He's a nice guy. Really.
I'm sure he is. Depends on
Might
what
consider
side,
something like that, huh?
depends on what side of Larry you're on.
Oh, well.
And as far as who to contact with people, one thing might make it a little easier if there's electricity and it's just a blizzard. This is my suggestion, our cable thing, put all our names on it. Who your mayors, who your city council people are. So if they say they don't know who they are, they can look.
All the newsletters.
I know, I said, trust me, I said, don't you read your newsletter? What newsletter? I said, it's right on the front. It is?
What a waste of
I went
time.
through that. I'm not kidding you. 45 research for people.
No matter what we do or try to do, we're not gonna make everybody happy. That's the bad reality.
Right.
Somebody's gonna second guess us and Monday morning quarterback us and,
Well, I think that in this case, we just need to, either the council or the department needs to put a plan together, and who needs to do what. So that you know too, who's in charge and who you need to call first when roads are called.
Well, that's it, as soon as I found out they opened up the school, I'm thinking, my God, how many people were stuck over there in early when we decided to open up the school just for, and we, as you know, we all had electricity, so it's gonna be, it's just a warming station, but I just thought it was kind of an overkill. I didn't know until just a few moments ago that there was only 7 up there. I do know how few were sitting at the rec center. But the rec center is designated as one. I live right across the street. I walked over, opened up the door, have at it, opened, turned on the lights, and so they're in.
Those people were on their own that were there.
Well, we had the police do walkthroughs, and
But there's nobody there all the time.
No, there was no supervision during that time for all of them. Actually, who was in there was a wedding party. It was the chauffeur of the limo and part of the wedding party, so I didn't think we were going to have too big of a problem with that group.
Different weddings than I go to.
It's been a long day already.
So I just walked in, showed them here's where things are at, make yourself comfortable, and if you need anything, I'm right across the street, type of that. That was the arrangement there.
not that they could see across the
Well, not,
your house.
Entire road, you're in road.
Head north and you'll see signs. So,
You could have found, though, board members or volunteers for the rec center.
the mayor of Sac said, do you want me to come down, do you want me to do, I said, no, there's not that many here. If it gets larger, and I went over a couple of times and checked, and we had a couple of the uniformed police on duty during the night, they stopped and checked, do walkthroughs. If you have a shelter, always encourage a walkthrough, and that just kind of keeps the peace. So,
Yeah, likewise, if you end up with people here, call us and let us know, because, if we don't over here, we assume somebody will always be stranded, but.
We've had a shelter set up in early, would you say 3 times in the last calendar year?
Yeah.
So it's,
Enough's enough.
well, and God forbid, but another possibility is if there's some type of a hazardous material spill. And certainly that could shut down a highway, and depending upon which way the wind's blowing, you may have to evacuate and have people stay somewhere during that part too.
Well, does that kind of answer the questions that people had?
Is there someone upset up there at the school?
I don't know. I just got asked how all that happened, and a bunch of questions on the house shelter, and I'm like, this is a...
It's not that people were upset, but you had the assistant superintendent up there, she didn't have to be up there. They could have been, those people could have been here.
201st Street in Carmen.
instead of going up there.
Well, I mean, and she's the one, right with the key to that place that has to know, hey, look, are they full down at City Hall?
Actually, I had the building open here too at the same time, but nobody, they all went up there.
Well, and again, that could be Casey's just saying, hey, go to school, all 7 of you.
In the 90s.
I think, once we get the plan together, we need to include that in the newsletter so people understand, if, you know, especially those that are closer to the highway, they know where the first emergency shelter is located.
Part of your plan.
know what case is in.
Right.
Yeah, part of your plan should be, okay, somebody on the telephone tree is gonna call Casey's and saying, okay, City Hall's open, school's not, you know, type of a thing.
It doesn't hurt to put that across your access channel, though. People look at that every once in a while. Once they get it into their head that that's where it is, they'll figure it out. But we've talked about this before. Some towns are like, where do we go? We didn't know where we were supposed to go. So it's a matter of internally marketing it to everybody.
But I'm convinced we won't have to do it the rest of this year.
I hope not.
think so.
We don't need to go through that again.
Shit. All right. Anybody got any questions for me or on anything else? Well,